What's going on, guys? This is VinylicPuma, back with another video, and I'm happy to announce that the new Wonderlands DLC is amazing. The breadth of content is spectacular, the new guns are mesmerizing, and I'm pleased to announce that this is the best DLC in Borderlands history, easily cementing its position next to the likes of General Knox, Dragon Keep, Claptastic Voyage, and the Krieg DLC. It is a masterpiece of DLC making and will cement Wonderlands as the best Wonderlands game ever. I mean, check this out. The Sharks don't even have names. I mean, who wouldn't want to nominate Coiled Captors for DLC of the year? It's phenomenal, wonderful, and I guess by extension, great. All jokes aside, guys, I feel kinda silly since about a week or so ago, I put out a video that was pretty positive about Tiny Tina's Wonderlands. It feels kinda weird to talk about something fairly negative and within what feels like such a short time span. To go from, this game is a lot of fun, to, what were they thinking, is unfortunate. Especially since I think the guys and gals at Gearbox are trying to put out good stuff, and are trying to take people's feedback seriously. I think Wonderlands is a good game, but this DLC at the very least leaves a lot to be desired. Honestly, I don't think I'm even particularly mad or angry. I think the accurate term for what I'm feeling is confusion. I sat down and played through this thing on Thursday, beat it, and was kinda surprised at how short it all was. I mean, that's it. You go through a couple of rooms and beat up a shark, and then we have to wait until next week for the boss to update. Why not just release all 4 stages of the boss now and let people beat it all 4 times at their own leisure? I'm really confused at how this DLC even works. You beat Chum, this unlocks new areas for the Chaos Chamber, and Chum himself can appear as a boss in the Chaos Chamber. Beyond the scenery of new minimaps to fight mobs on, what is the point of this release? Sure, the Chaos level is 35 now, and I managed to grind that up over the past day, and there are a few new legendaries and you can get primordial gear now, but at that point, why not just release a normal update for the game that boosts Chaos levels and adds primordial equipment? Because in my view, that's really all this DLC added. Sure, you've got new features like how I can rename my mushroom companion, but what was preventing that from being an update? Seriously, the only content that's here is more Chaos Chamber, which I would say isn't inherently bad because I like the Chaos Chamber, but beyond the increased drop rates for volatile and primordial gear, it doesn't really seem like there's much point in getting the new Chaos levels, beyond the prestige of doing so. Assuming you were able to get volatile equipment over the past month since release, all that's really changed for you is that it's now a little bit easier to get that same equipment. In fact, I would argue the effort you spent trying to get that volatile 2x multiplier liquid cooling about 2 to 3 weeks back would have been better spent trying to get it now. If your chances of getting volatile equipment at Chaos level 20 are just like 1.4%, and you can increase that by 10 to 17.4% at Chaos 35, it stands to reason that you would be better off waiting for primordial gear as well. I have to assume that there will be a Chaos level 50 at some point, so why not just wait until Chaos level 50 to get the primordial gear when it'll actually drop fairly frequently and consistently? It's interesting because I do prefer this new chaotic tier system compared to what we had before with the OP levels or Mayhem levels in the previous games. I think the issue is that it just seems like not only are these new tiers of equipment being drip-fed to the player, but all of the content in this game is being drip-fed. Because let's be honest, what was stopping Gearbox from launching this game with the ability to rename your companions? Or for the DLC, the reason that you clicked on this video, why is it releasing over 4 weeks? Even if it's not going to be very long, why not just release everything in the DLC now and let everyone beat all 4 stages of the boss? The funny thing is we've had short DLCs for Borderlands in the past, and depending on how you look at it, Coiled Captors is actually a bit better than something like Borderlands 2's Headhunter packs in the sense that at least this DLC adds some new spells and other legendary gear. I think the big reason why it feels so sour this time around is in part because Wonderlands' base game is actually pretty solid, and compared to the DLCs that Borderlands is traditionally known for, Coiled Captors comes up pretty short. Even something like the pre-sequel's Holodome DLC, I'd say, is better than what's on offer here, and I remember that DLC at the time being fairly controversial, especially in combination with Gearbox and/or 2K Australia nerfing the probe pistol, which smash like if you've been in the community long enough to remember that particular controversy. But I digress. I think the real issue here is the drip feeding of content. On the one hand, while this is cool because it gives you as the player the opportunity to return to a game and potentially keep playing and experiencing new stuff, on the other, it's sort of a pain in the butt for anyone that's invested a lot of time and effort in farming equipment. After all, and like I mentioned earlier when discussing farming volatile equipment a couple weeks back, had you done that, you essentially wasted potentially hours of your life just trying to get your hands on the perfect liquid cooling, Queen's Cry, or Pixie's Furior weapon. Now you need the primordial version, and of course, getting your hands on that is going to take you about as long as it did with the original volatile variant. After all, it's a 1% drop chance for any primordial item, let alone a legendary, which is likely lower than that. My fear going forward is that Coiled Captors will be the representation of the DLC going forward. If all Wonderlands DLC is going to be drip-fed to the player base like this one is, and largely consist of a few new maps as well as maybe a new level cap increase or two, that's pretty disappointing in my view, especially considering Wonderland's source material is the amazing Tiny Tina's Assault on Dragon's Keep, which is arguably one of the best DLCs for a Borderlands game ever. I'll never forget managing to somehow get the vertical grip sword explosion for the first time back in the old days and being blown away at just how good that gun was. Wonderlands is deserving of a Dragon Keep, Claptastic Voyage, General Knox, or a Krieg DLC type experience. I'm not necessarily in the know, so I don't know what DLC is coming in the future, but I'd almost rather Gearbox take whatever smaller DLCs they're working on and incorporate that into a much bigger DLC experience if possible. If Wonderlands is to Borderlands 3 that Borderlands the pre-sequel was to Borderlands 2, and that it's a spin-off game that's mainly meant to hold the fanbase over until the next major release, I think the fanbase is at least worthy of one big Claptastic Voyage type experience. Going back to Borderlands 2, one of the best things about Dragon Keep was that it came out after Ultimate Vault Hunter mode and really all of the DLC itself, and basically accommodated the new difficulties that were introduced. You got a slew of slag weapons like the magic missile and other stuff that really made the game overall a lot more balanced, and really overall I would say more enjoyable. If Gearbox somehow manages to come across my video here, don't worry so much about having a regular stream of new updates to the game that come out, and focus on just trying to make something really solid and good. Part of the reason that I think Borderlands 2 is still considered by many to be the best Borderlands game ever made, or at the very least it's my favorite Borderlands game ever made despite its many flaws, is largely the result of it being an extremely solid and complete experience. I've probably said this in previous videos, but you could be stranded on a desert island with a copy of a non-Game of the Year edition Borderlands 2 for the Xbox 360, and it would not really be that bad. You might start painting faces on volleyballs at some point, but the core Borderlands 2 experience will definitely hold you over. And I think Wonderlands would definitely benefit from having that type of experience. Moving away from Borderlands into other game franchises, look at something like Dark Souls. As far as I remember, Dark Souls 1 only had one DLC and 3 had 2. Both extended the player base and community involvement with the game over time because the updates were really high quality. Borderlands and Wonderlands isn't really like Fortnite where you can do something like add Chun-Li or some other high-profile, culturally relevant mini DLC to the game. You need something big to get people really interested in my view. In fact, when Coiled Captors got announced, I was actually pretty excited and was thinking that it was going to be something on the level of Captain Scarlet 2.0 in terms of scale. We're talking at least a 3 to 6 hour experience, and potentially longer if you decide to do all of the side quests and any other content. My hope is that if DLC 2 for Wonderlands isn't going to be something on that level, then you've at least got a DLC or two that is coming in the future that is on that level. I think Wonderlands is a pretty good game in the series, and while it may have been intended to be purely like a spin-off or whatever, I think it deserves the royalty treatment. Whether it gets its own Assault on Dragon Keep, Artorias of the Abyss, Blood Dragon, Twin Hunters, or what have you, we definitely need this level of experience for Wonderlands. I think it would be really unfortunate to see Wonderlands simply have DLC to justify increasing the Chaos level cap or general level cap every so often. Having something new that's going to really change the game would be amazing, and I really hope Gearbox pursues this direction. Obviously, we're all just fans at the end of the day, and we're at their mercy, but I definitely do think Wonderlands deserves better than a generic boss fight DLC. Especially since Gearbox went to the trouble to re-include raid bosses and a lot of things that the fans like from previous games. Let alone the fact that Wonderlands itself is inspired by Dragon Keep. Overall though, I guess we'll see what happens with Coiled Captors and a lot of the other DLCs at this point. But until next time guys, I think that's going to wrap up this particular video. If you enjoyed this video, definitely be sure to smash like, click the bell to be notified when I upload next, and as always, and again, thank you all so much for supporting this channel. Take care, and have a good one.